call hello, Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashim Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone of Ruel. I am not a member, however, I've entered into their labors. Peace and mercy to the sincere brothers and sisters doing this, wherever you are, whatever your lot may be. This is something I read in Maccabees, and I think this will just be covering two things: encouragement and a warning, right? Especially since we're moving or sailing along ever so swiftly to the time of certain prophecies being fulfilled, right? Leading up to Jacob's trouble, right? You have the manufactured food famines, you have the infrastructure for the MOTB or the implantable device, where you will not be able to participate if you don't have in society. If you don't have it, you cannot buy, you cannot sell. Okay, this devil has been exposed all up and down, left and right. Everyone knows who Esau Edom is, and people are no longer buying. Those enchantments are no longer, working. At least for a lot of people. How it was maybe 20, 30 years ago. Times have changed. Internet's open and out, so you look for that to be reined in. And with all of that, you know that this devil will come down with great wrath. All right, so this I just want to cover 14 and 15. I won't read the whole thing. You should, and it's just a retelling of throughout the Maccabean revolt, or at least parts of it. Okay, so we'll just kind of grab a little bit from the top. After 3 years, Judas was informed that Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, having entered by the haven of Tripoli, or Tripolis, with a great power and navy, had taken the country, killed Antiochus and Lysias, his protector. All right, so let's move on down. Now, one alchemist who had been high priest and had defiled himself willfully in the times of their mingling with the Gentiles, seeing that by no means he could save himself, nor have any more access to the holy altar. So, of course, now you have one of your wicked Israelite brothers, which, by blood at least, brothers by blood, which you're going to see a lot of our people do that in this time. They're going to turn on you. They're going to, we'll keep reading. Came to King Demetrius in 101 and 15th year, or 50th, its 50th year, presenting unto him a crown of gold and a palm, and of the bows which were used solemnly in the temple. Okay, so these are things not meant for folks, he pretty much profaned the things that were meant for the temple. All right, so he, you know what? Trim 2, yes. And that reminds me, so Jeremiah 2 and 33, we'll hit that really quick before we continue on. Okay, and we'll just, I'm actually kind of running short on time, so we'll get straight to the point. Jeremiah 2 and 33, why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. Right, so these have nothing to do. Our practices, everything that was given to us through Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, is not to be, you're not casting your pearls upon swine, which can also be a similitude or a metaphor for passing this knowledge on as well to somebody that, ain't worthy. Came to King Demetrius 5, howbeit having gotten the opportunity to further his foolish enterprise, and being called into council by Demetrius and asked how the Israelites stood affected, and what they intended, and he answered thereunto. Those of the Israelites he called Assyrians, whose captain is Judas Maccabeus, nourish war. So basically he's a warmonger, and he's all about going against the crown and stirring up mess within the realm, within the conquered realm, right? Okay, the war and are seditious, and will not let the rest be in peace. Now, the whole time, the entire reason for this revolt was because they were not allowed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? If you go earlier in this chapter, you'll read and see that Antiochus was the one who, Epiphanes was the one who put hell on our people and was like, you can't celebrate this, or not celebrate. You cannot keep the Sabbath. You cannot call yourself an Israelite. You cannot pretty much practice your ways and your culture. Go ahead and eat this swine's flesh, sacrifice these abominations on, and get rid of that altar, get rid of that temple that the Lord told you to build, and we're going to erect something for Dionysus, and they had them in gymnasiums doing all manner of foolish activity. So that's what that was born from. And then you have this wicked nigga here um, turning his back on his people and for his own filthy lucre's sake, right? Foolish enterprise. Okay, he pretty much turns his back on his people and says, like, these niggas always got problems. They always talking about, standing manfully for the word. They always want to be, for lack of a better term, they always want to be righteous. And you're going to have 2/3 of your people, even your family, when push comes to shove and you don't want to bow down to something. They don't be surprised if Slovakia for a second. Okay, there we go. Don't be surprised when they turn their back and say that you are uh at least in a words that fit this term, nourish war and our sedition and won't let the people rest, right? Or not, and not let the rest be in peace. All right. Therefore, I being deprived of mine ancestry, honor, I mean the high priesthood, have now come hither. Okay. Now let's see. I'll do. When did he send Nicanor? That's where I want to go. All right. So we'll scroll down just a little bit to 11. This was no sooner spoke of him, but others in the king's friends, being maliciously set against Judas, did more to incense Demetrius. All right, so they got in the king's head. So the king, all right, first calling Nicanor, who had been master of the elephants, and making him governor over Judea, and he sent him forth. All right, commanding him to slay Judas and scatter them that were with him, and make Alchemist high priest of the great temple. So that is what he was looking for. Get Judas out the way. Get these righteous, if we put it in today's terms, get these righteous niggas, these hopeful elect out of here so we can just take our MOTB and our fake freedom and just live in peace. We are okay as long as they get my piece of the pie here in Babylon the Great. Everyone else wants to further this kingdom, and I'm likening it unto this. This is not, of course, exactly what's going on here in that I'm reading, but I'm likening it unto what we have going on today, or what is going to be coming in the near future. All right. Then the heathen that had fled out of Judea from Judas came to Nicanor by flocks, thinking the harm and calamities of the Jews be their welfare. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay, when the Israelites heard Nicanor's coming, that the heathen were up against them, they cast earth upon their heads. So immediately, when the enemy uh, was heard that the enemy was about to befall them, what did the people do? They instantly turned unto the Lord. All right, and they called upon him and they called into remembrance. Remember, Lord, how you delivered our people from the Assyrians, how you delivered them from, out of Babylon, all of these different instances where there were other mighty men of valor where the Lord had his hand on. Okay, and you'll read that as you go into these chapters. All right, so at the commandment of the captain, removed straightway. All right. All right, nevertheless. All right, we'll go. I want to read 18. Nevertheless, Nicanor, hearing of the manliness of them that were with Judas, and the courageousness that they had to fight for their country, durst not try the matter by sword. Okay. All right, so we went to make peace. All right, appointed day to meet together themselves. All right, 23. Nicanor abode in Jerusalem and did not know hurt, but sent away the people that came flocking unto him. All right, he prayed him to take a wife and beget children, so he married and was quiet and took part of this life. Okay, Alchemist, being the hating ass nigga he is, perceived the love that was betwixt them, because these were, in their own right, these were two honorable men. You just got this punk nigga right here. And considering the covenants that were made, came to Demetrius and told him that Nicanor was not well affected towards the state, for he had ordained Judas, a traitor to his realm, to be king's successor. All right, so the king being enraged, and the king pretty much told him, hey, do what I sent you to do. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, of course, Nicanor could not gosh, I can't speak. Pretty much go against the king's commandment. So, go against the king's will. All right. So we'll fast forward to 15 and go straight to verse 10. And now we're heading up to the point that I'm trying to make. Encouragement and just be forewarned. And I'll say this one ahead of time. Ecclesiasticus, better known as Sirach 12 and 10. You read that. Never trust thine enemies, and your enemies are highlighted in Psalms 83. So go read that. And if anyone happens to see this, which I don't get very many views, if any, but if you happen to see this and you need a table of nations and who is who, I'd be happy to provide that or point you in the right direction. So moving on. All right, so the folks, the army had laid an attack on them, and some folks had, they kind of tried to spread out and gather together in a different location and regroup. All right, so we're gonna go to verse 9, and again, I highly encourage you to read this chapter, 14 and 15. All right, so comforting them. This is Judas talking about the men who are about to fight. What looks like a losing battle, what looks like an unwinnable battle. So Nicanor also talks about how he raised his right hand and talked about how he was going to destroy the temple. Oh man, yeah, you need to read this. For the sake of time, I need to scroll straight to the point. But this is something that needs to be read. All right, and when he had stirred up their minds, he gave them their charge, showing them therewithal the falsehood of the heathen and the breach of oaths, right? So these heathen, they don't keep their oath, and especially when you're talking about an Edomite, and that's why I quoted Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. Thus he armed every one of them, not so much with defense of shields and spears, as with comfortable and good words, right? Because our power is in the heavens. The Lord will allow you to win with the physical, but your power comes from on high, and it is imbued or endowed within. Our power is making our hearts bold to stand firm for the Lord. Okay, and besides that, he told them a dream worthy to be believed, as if it had been so indeed, which did not a little rejoice them. All right, so here's the dream. And this was his vision, that Ananias, who had been high priest, a virtuous and good man, reverent in conversation, gentle in condition, well spoken also, and exercised from a child in all points of virtue, holding up his hands, prayed for the whole body of the Israelites. This done in like manner, there appeared a man with gray hairs, exceeding glorious, who was wonderful and excellent majesty, which got me excited reading. But you'll see there that this is the prophet Jeremiah. Okay, then Ananias answered, saying, This is a lover of the brethren, who prayed much for the people and for the holy city, to wit, Jeremiah the prophet of Yahweh. Whereupon Jeremiah, holding forth his right hand, gave to Judas a sword of gold, and in giving it spake thus, Take this holy sword, a gift from Yahweh, which thou shalt wound the adversaries. And I think that is a beautiful story. That is an encouragement, for one, to hold fast to what you believe. You were not given this knowledge uh, to just fall off in the end. And I pray that the Lord didn't put the Spirit on any of us who are listening and learning in sincerity and in truth, that He don't put the Spirit on us to do that. But why be woken up? Why be so sincere? Why do all the things that you are doing in this life, leading up to the end of the end of an age, basically, just to fall in the end? Hold fast when the enemy comes down, when things reach a point to you. Don't ever forget to call on the name of Yahweh as your ancestors have done, right? Things that are written aforetime are written for our knowledge. Call on Yahweh. Remind him of what, and that's why it's also important to read, because now you can you'll have things to attest to. When were the righteous confounded? So the most important thing you can do is know the names of the Lord. Yahweh, He is, whom you ignorantly refer to as God. Bahashem, in the name of Yahweh Shai, whom you ignorantly refer to as Jesus. You call on those names. You have a healthy fear of the Lord, knowing that if you screw up willingly and continuously, you're going to be destroyed. Understand that the Lord, that the God you serve, is not a power to be trifled with. But on the flip side, if you are striving for righteousness, if you are striving to come up under the vibration of the Lord, then you'll be protected. But you got to believe that. And I'm preaching to self too, because it's easy to say it now when things are seemingly okay. But remember, always look to the past. Seek the old paths. Call upon the name of the Lord in the time of trouble. But you should already be doing anyway in a time where it's good, giving thanks, being grateful. But in this specific instance, we're talking about times of trouble. Don't forget who you belong to. He didn't give you this knowledge just for you to forget things when times get tough. So with that being said, I pray that you are edified. And again, please read First and Second Maccabees. But just for the sake of context in this lesson, read 14 and 15. It's very touching. It's very encouraging. All right. So with that being said, shalom.